I put this video together to demonstrate a relatively cheap and easy quad. It's a lot of fun to fly, and it's built out of just some original parts that I had ordered from HobbyKing. I've been helping a friend with this build, and I wanted to talk through kind of the different components, and I've actually included a build log in the description. It's a Google spreadsheet, and it will show you, the different parts and prices for each, and you can get this all in for about 150 bucks. Now that doesn't include some of the basic things like the servo leads, your connectors for your ESCs, as well as a transmitter. But for 150 bucks, minus the things I just mentioned, it's a pretty good quad to learn on, to fly, to get comfortable with. So we'll start with the frame. This is a Turnigy Talon frame. I believe it's the version 1, and at the time of this video it runs about $32.95. Now it's probably one of the more expensive components for this build, so you can keep in mind that if you want to build your own frame or find a cheaper one, that's always an option. Here we have the HobbyKing version of the KK board. It's the HobbyKing 2.1 board, and it runs $12.99. So that's, compared to a NASA or RG Pilot or even a Copter Control, some of those higher end boards, this is, an incredible deal. Now it's like I said, it's a basic board, and it's a great board to learn to fly on, and it has 3 gyros for your yaw, pitch and roll. So you can probably see these guys right here, and you have to manually adjust the gains on those with a screwdriver. But once you get it tuned fairly well, the thing is really stable and very responsive. So it's quite a good setup for $13. Okay, next we have the Turnigy. They're 12 amp ESCs. We have 4 of them, obviously, and they run about $9.78 a pop. So total is about $39.12. I know all these exact numbers because they're in the spreadsheet, so be sure to check that. And these are great little ESCs for the price. I've flown them quite a bit and haven't had any problems with them yet. Okay, next up we have the Turnigy Motors. They're the model 2730. They are 1300 kV motors, so a faster motor, but definitely generate enough power to get this quad in the air, and those run at $10.53. So with all 4 all in, you're talking $42.12 for your 4 motors. So for the props, we have 9-inch by 4.7 pitch. We have 4 gem fan props. They run about $1.25, so total of $5 for the props. I had an extra Spectrum AR600 receiver laying around, so that's what I used for this build. But you'll notice in the Google spreadsheet I have listed a orange receiver. It's a Spectrum compatible one, and it runs $5.89. It's really the cheapest Spectrum compatible receiver you'll be able to find. Finally, we have the 2200 milliamp Turnigy Lipo. It's a 3S, and that runs $13.79. So all said and done, with the parts, the components I just talked through, the quad weighs in at about 1.43 pounds, and with the 2200 milliamp LiPo, 3S LiPo, that yields about 9 minutes of flight time. So one last thing I wanted to point out with the HobbyKing KK 2.1 board is it comes in a plus configuration unless you get the firmware loader. So by default, you're going to be flying in a plus. This is the front of the board, which points to the front of the quad. And if you take a look at the props and motors, this is actually your motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, and then motor 4 is your rear prop. So with that configuration, motor 1 and 4 are counterclockwise, and then 2 and 3, this is 2 is clockwise, and 3 is clockwise. So just keep that in mind as you're building your quad. You obviously want the appropriate props based on the direction your motor is spinning. So that's really all there is to the build, and I'll go ahead and take it for a quick flight just so you guys can see how it handles. Okay, so I've already fiddled with the yaw, pitch, and roll gains to get everything tuned in, but as I mentioned earlier, you just use a little tiny screwdriver to adjust those and get it locked into where you want it. Now, one other tip with the KK board. So if you take a look at the board while I do this, down and to the left with the throttle actually activates the board. You'll see the little LED come on, and down and to the right will deactivate the board. So I'm going to go ahead and activate it and take it for a flight. So down and to the left, and now we're ready for flight. So the Skyfly is really light and very responsive. If you're used to flying the NASA or the APM, you'll notice quite a difference when you're flying a KK board. It also takes a little bit more practice just because the leveling is just not as stable as the NASA or APM. So that's it for the KK build. Be sure to check the spreadsheet for all the parts, and feel free to post any comments if you have questions. And thanks for watching.